going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning back into the Loud Bostonian. Today's episode, we are going to be doing a segment of Rent, Buy, or Steal. In this segment, I'm going to be reviewing a movie and giving you the insight of whether or not I think you should rent it, buy it, or just steal the damn thing. Today's subject, Solo, a Star Wars story. My personal backstory on Solo, a Star Wars story, I didn't want to see this movie in theaters. I love Han Solo, the character. Loved him in A New Hope. Loved him in Empire Strikes Back. Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens. My favorite character in all of Star Wars. So when they announced that they were making this movie, I was sort of interested in it, but I felt that I didn't need a Han Solo backstory because we've already seen his story in A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens. So why do we need an origin story of a character who, when he came into it, was, you know, in his, 30s? So did I really care about his life as his childhood or his, 20s or anything like that? I didn't think I did. So I was not that excited to go and see this movie. And on top of it, it came out after The Last Jedi, which I am in the minority of and did not love. So I was not excited for Star Wars. I was in such a low point after The Last Jedi that I didn't really care for Star Wars. And honestly, I didn't want to go and see it. Not to mention all the rumors coming out of Hollywood of all the reshoots, the director change, and all the issues this movie had. I was in no way excited to go and see this film. I got the chance to see it recently because a friend of mine bought the movie on my Amazon Prime Video account and gave me $20 for it. He has access to my account, and he's watched all my movies, and he asked me if I was going to buy this one, and I told him I wasn't going to, and then he wanted to see it, so he bought it himself and reimbursed me. So I was able to see the movie essentially for free, so I felt the need to do my review on it after I saw it. Having said that I was not that interested in it, after seeing the movie, I really enjoyed it. I think that this is the closest to the original feel of Star Wars that any of the new movies have had, except for maybe Rogue One was definitely in that realm. But this movie actually had the fun and heart, and it was a much smaller story, and it was definitely targeted a little bit towards kids, I think. But that's okay, because that's honestly, you have to kind of cater to new demographics every once in a while. And not that kids aren't a new demographic in the Star Wars scene of things, but I was surprised at how much I liked this movie. So let's get into some specifics about the movie, what I really liked. I didn't think that I was going to like this kid the guy who was playing Alan Aldridge, I believe his name is. Alan Aldridge? Yeah, we'll go with that. I didn't think I was going to like him being Han Solo. Given the fact that his age, he was so close to to Harrison Ford's age when he started. I mean, well, not really close, but it didn't seem like he was a younger Han Solo to me when I saw him. But he was pretty good. He was honestly pretty good. And when this movie's at its best is when the characters are interacting the way that the original characters interacted. His interactions with Chewie are exactly how Harrison Ford interacted with Chewie. Now, I'm not saying he does an exact replica of Harrison Ford's take on the character. He doesn't. But his interactions with Chewbacca are fantastic. His interactions with Lando are exactly how you'd want to see it. Lando himself, Donald Glover, he plays exactly the way you'd imagine a young, charismatic Lando Calrissian would play. And his interactions with people are great, too. So the characters you know and love are exactly the way that their interactions with each other are exactly the way you'd expect them to have been done by Billy Dee Williams, Harrison Ford, or, just fucking Chewbacca. But I really enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed the movie. I thought that the character interactions were fantastic, and they were spot on to the actual characters. There's a lot of humor in here, a lot of jokes, which you kind of expect because Han Solo is kind of a wisecrack. But the overall plot of the movie is that Harrison Ford, Han Solo, is growing up on this junk planet where he's basically poor and in debt, and there's all these gangsters, and it's really no place for a young person to grow up. He has a love interest who is Daenerys Targaryen, and her name's Kira in the movie, and basically his goal is he steals some stuff to try and have a chance for those two to get off the planet. Things go sideways. He manages to make it through the checkpoint. She doesn't. and then the Imperial guards are looking for him because they realize that there's something wrong with this guy who just snuck through the checkpoint, and he ends up in a last-ditch effort so he can get off the planet and hopefully come back and save her eventually, joins the Imperial Navy. The lamest part of the whole movie is how he gets his name. Sorry, it's such bad writing. He basically goes up and tells, his name's Han, obviously. He goes up and asks the guy, and he goes, "What clan are you from?" or whatever, and he goes, "No one, I'm alone. I'm alone." So the guy goes, "Solo," and types it in, and that's great. That's the character origin name I wanted. But brushing past that, the movie jumps ahead a year or two, and he's been kicked out of the Navy because he doesn't like the hierarchy of the Imperial Navy. So now he's a grunt soldier on some planet during a big war. He ends up running into Woody Harrelson's character, who he thinks is a general or a sergeant or something in the military. Him and his crew are walking through the battlefield, and he ends up realizing pretty quickly that they are actually the people that were being attacked by the Imperial Army. They've killed some soldiers, stolen their gear, and are now infiltrating them so they can get the hell out of there. Han is immediately interested in joining up with these guys to get the hell out of here himself. But, they don't know each other at all, so Woody Harrelson betrays him a little bit, sends him off to rats him out to some other officers. They throw him in a pit where he interacts with Chewbacca. They haven't fed Chewbacca in a few days, they say, so he's very hungry, and he starts attacking Han, and this is another one of the lamest parts of the whole movie. Han actually physically speaks Wookiee. He does it, and that was a terrible Wookiee impersonation, I'm sorry. But he speaks Wookiee, Chewbacca's taken aback, and then he tells him, that they need to work together to get out of here and all this stuff. So they end up teaming up for just the time being. And then as they escape, Han says, "Look, we can both get out of here. Let's go this way, and then you can get the hell away from me," all this stuff. Chewie ends up teaming up with them. They end up finding Woody Harrelson's character again before he leaves, and they end up getting on the ship with him and joining arms with him. Woody Harrelson's character is a smuggler. Is he a smuggler? Or is he a bounty? Is he mercenary? I guess technically he's a mercenary, but he's got all these jobs he's trying to get done for countless different gangster organizations and stuff. So they join up. Plot of the movie is the first mission they go on together with Han, with Chewie, goes sideways, and they end up in debt to a gangster. The gangster, who is played by the guy who plays Vision in the Avengers movies, he's pretty intense. He's not in the movie that much, but he's definitely kind of a psycho. So in going back to confess that they failed their mission to him, Han realizes that Kira has been purchased. I don't know what it is. I guess it's slavery, but purchased by this bad guy. So she ends up getting thrown into the mix too because the bad guy doesn't trust Woody Harrelson or Han Solo, so he wants Kira to go with them to make sure everything's checks out. So as the movie progresses, they end up realizing that they need to steal back some of this. I believe it's quantum fuel or something along those lines. I didn't really pay that much attention to the MacGuffin that they're trying to go and get after in this movie. But anyways, so they have to go and steal this fuel, and the plot is that they need to steal unrefined fuel because there's nowhere on the planet they're going to be able to just swipe this already processed fuel and get it back to this guy. Han's plan is to go to this planet. They can get the unrefined fuel, but then they only have a certain amount of time to get it to a place where they can refine it and make it and turn it into the usable fuel, and that's where the Kessel Run comes in. Before they can do any of this, they need to go and acquire a ship. They have no ship to get there, nothing that can get there quick enough. This is where Lando comes into it. Kira knows Lando and knows that he's a kind of a shady dealer, and he's got a very fast ship. And sure enough, Han sits down with him to try and beat him in a game of cards in order to win the Millennium Falcon, and it's a great interaction between them. Lando has to cheat in order to beat Han when he plays him, but he still jumps in on board with the crew and wanting to do the mission because honestly he neglects to tell them that he doesn't have the Millennium Falcon in his possession anymore. It's been repoed by the planet that they're on. So they break into the repo dealership, steal the Millennium Falcon, and boom, they're off to do the Kessel Run. Now, I always thought the Kessel Run was a race. I guess it was never interpreted as it being, and maybe it is an actual race, but he when they go to the planet, I believe the planet is Kessel. So they go to the planet to steal all this unrefined fuel, and they end up setting free this mine that's under Imperial control with all these slaves, and it's pretty cool. And then basically they have to shoot out of there as quickly as they can, and that's where the 12 parsecs, doing the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs come into play, and it was pretty cool. I enjoyed the flying in the spaceship. When Han finally gets behind the wheel of the Millennium Falcon, it's really cool to see his like he's always supposed to have been there. You know, it's very it was very cool to see that interaction, and even Lando realizes that Han's a great pilot behind the Millennium Falcon, all this stuff. Anyways, the movie progresses on, and basically Woody Harrelson's character betrays them. The mob boss that they've been working for, they end up killing him. Woody Harrelson betrays him. Han does the classic shoots first, ends up shooting Woody Harrelson dead. And Woody Harrelson tells him that's what he would have done, and that he actually really liked Han and all this stuff. And Han shoots first, people. He definitely shot Greedo first. It sets all that straight, I suppose. But honestly, it all kind of boils down to Han betrays Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson betrays Han. A lot of betrayals go on in this movie. Han, in his mindset, is betraying him so that he can give this fuel that he's acquired to this group of people that have been, in the movie, kind of bad guys, but you realize that they're actually the first seeds of the rebellion. So when he ends up giving the fuel to them, and all is good in the universe, except for the last scene in the movie, which is, maybe not the last scene in the movie, but Kira, who has left Han and taken off on a ship, decided to steal the gangster that she used to work for his comm card and dial up his boss. And that was the coolest thing in the movie, in my opinion. I loved it. You don't see who the boss is, who he's working for, and then all of a sudden you hear this voice kick in to start talking. You're like, who the hell is that? And sure enough, it's our homeboy Darth Maul. Anybody who has followed the Clone Wars or the Rebels animated series know that Darth Maul is alive in this timeline. He got cut in half in The Phantom Menace, but he's been alive. He's a thorn in the side of the Empire and in the side of the Jedi. So he's alive and well, and that's who this guy was working for. That's who Kira now works for. So it sets you up in this whole connected universe kind of way that Star Wars hadn't tried before. So after the movie was all over, I was very sad that I didn't see this movie in theaters. I felt like it would have been a lot of fun. I'm very sad that the Disney in general has decided to cancel side projects. I think this movie could have had a pretty cool sequel. Whether or not you actually tie in Han Solo as much in the next sequel, this movie definitely, there's enough seed there that it could have gone, because the rumor was that they were going to go to an Obi-Wan movie, some story that happened while he was on Tatooine watching out for Luke. So if that's the end point, and we know that in the Rebels and in Rebels, the actual end of Darth Maul is he shows up on Tatooine and Obi-Wan has to officially kill him before he can get to Luke and bring Luke in to become a Sith or whatever the hell Maul calls himself nowadays. So I think that would have been a cool end to the Obi-Wan movie, and you could have done a movie in the middle that kind of interacted, a mission that Maul's on or whatever to try and bridge this gap. It would have been a cool little 1, 2, 3 movie trilogy. Not really a trilogy, but it would have been a cool continuous story for 3 movies that they could have done. But that's neither here nor there. We don't know what the hell Disney's really going to be doing with Star Wars. Once the episode 9 wraps up, we'll see. But overall, I thought the movie was very good, guys. I actually had a really great time with it. It really took me back to just fun Star Wars feels, which was something I haven't had in a long time. So I was very happy with the product that I got out of it. Now, let me give you my grade here. Is it worth a buy? Is it worth a rent? Or should you steal this thing? As I always say, people who like to steal movies are going to steal it anyways. I definitely think it's worth a rent. I definitely think you guys should pick it up. And depending on how big of a Star Wars fan you are, it might even be worth a buy. I personally, on my level, like I said, if my friend hadn't purchased the movie or given me the money to purchase the movie on my account, I probably wouldn't have purchased it. I would have rented it, and I think I would have been fine there. But now that I own it, I feel like I might watch it again. So I don't know. This one's tough. I'd say this falls right between a buy and a rent, and depending on how big of a Star Wars fan you are, you can make that decision. Anyways, that's going to do it for me, guys. So let me know what you think of the video. Let me know any movies that are out there that you want me to watch that I could potentially do another rent, buy, steal video on. I'm always looking for suggestions. And if you like this video and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and we'll see you next week.